Director Alina Vasquez walked slowly through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber, bigger than any building she had ever seen on Earth. The ceiling stretched so high above her that she could barely see it in the dim light. 12 different alien species sat in a perfect circle around her, each one looking down from their tall chairs like judges ready to give a death sentence. Alina felt small in this place. That was the point. The aliens wanted humans to feel tiny and helpless when they came here. The chamber was built to make visitors feel afraid. It worked on most species, but Alina had trained for this moment her entire life. The hegemony leader spoke first. Admiral Crickstall was 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin and 4 arms. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he talked. Human Representative Elena Vasquez, you stand before the Galactic Council to hear our decision about your species. Elena said nothing. She had learned that staying quiet often made aliens uncomfortable. They liked to hear begging and pleading. She would give them neither. A Zephyrian elder leaned forward from her floating chair. The Zephyrians looked like tall, thin birds with silver feathers and bright blue eyes. They were the oldest species in the galaxy and thought they were the wisest. Your people have been expanding too fast through our space, the elders said in a voice like wind chimes. You take planets without asking permission. You build colonies where you do not belong. Lena almost laughed. Humans had been given permission to settle on 17 small planets over the past 50 years. The aliens acted like Earth had conquered half the galaxy. Meanwhile, the hegemony controlled over 3,000 worlds, and the Zephyrians had been expanding for 10,000 years. Admiral Crickstall stood up, all 4 of his arms spreading wide. The Council has made its decision. Earth will surrender all colonies beyond your home system. Your military ships will be destroyed or handed over to Council forces. Your species will accept galactic oversight of all future expansion. The chamber fell silent. Lena could hear her own heartbeat in the quiet. She counted to 10 before speaking, knowing that every second of silence made the aliens more nervous. And if Earth refuses? She asked. The Admiral's mouth split into what? It might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then we will take your colonies by force. Your primitive ships cannot stand against our fleets. The hegemony alone has 500 warships. My personal dreadnought, the World Breaker, could destroy your entire navy by itself. Other council members nodded and made sounds of agreement. The Corvon ambassador, who looked like a giant insect with too many legs, clicked his mandibles together. Human technology is 50 years behind ours, he said. Your weapons are weak. Your ships are small and slow. Alina had heard this speech before, or at least versions of it. Aliens had been watching Earth space forces for decades. They had seen the destroyers and cruisers that patrolled human space. They had counted the ships and measured their weapons. On paper, Earth looked completely helpless against any serious alien force. How long do we have to decide? Lena asked Admiral. Crickstall checked a device on his wrist. 72 standard hours. After that, our fleets will move to secure your illegal colonies. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Alina nodded slowly, as if she was thinking hard about this terrible choice. Inside, she was fighting not to smile. The aliens had made the same mistake that every bully made. They thought that what they could see was all there was to see. I need to return to Earth to discuss this with my government, she said. Of course, the Zephyrian elder said in a voice full of fake kindness. Take all the time you need. You understand this is difficult news for your species. Alina turned and walked toward the doors. Behind her, she could hear the aliens already talking among themselves. They spoke in low voices, but her translator picked up most of it. The humans will surrender, the Corvin was saying. They have no choice. Their fleet is pathetic, Admiral Crickstall agreed. 27 ships total? My personal guard has more firepower than their entire navy. It is almost sad, another voice said. Such a young species, they never had a chance to grow strong. Alina reached the chamber doors and paused. She turned back to face the council one more time. 12 sets of alien eyes looked at her with mixtures of pity and contempt. They saw a representative of a weak, doomed species that would soon learn its place in the galaxy. Admiral Crickstall, she said, her voice carrying clearly across the huge chamber. You mentioned your ship, the Worldbreaker. How big is it? The Admiral puffed up with pride. 15 kilometers long, the largest warship ever built?
Why do you?
Askalina smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a nice smile, just curious. I wanted to know what we were dealing with. She walked out of the chamber without another word. Behind her, the aliens continued their discussions about how to divide up human space once Earth surrendered. They talked about which species would get which planets and how to best use human workers in their factories and mines. None of them noticed that Alina had not seemed frightened by their threats. None of them thought it was strange that a human diplomat would ask about ship sizes when facing the destruction of her entire civilization. They were too busy congratulating themselves on their easy victory to pay attention to small details. Alina walked to her ship thinking about those details. In 72 hours, the aliens would learn that Earth had been keeping some very big secrets. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were much better at hiding things than anyone had imagined. As her small diplomatic ship lifted off from Nexus Prime, Alina opened a secure communication channel to Earth. The message she sent was only 2 words long, but those 2 words would change everything. Omega Protocol. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the control room of the most secret place on Earth. The room was 5 miles under the Pacific Ocean, deeper than any fish could swim. No satellite could see this place. No alien spy could find it. For 30 years, it had been completely hidden from the galaxy. The message from Director Vasquez appeared on the main screen. 2 words that Sarah had been waiting to hear her entire career. Omega Protocol. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. After 3 decades of hiding, it was finally time. Atlas, begin Omega Protocol, she said to the air. A calm voice answered from speakers all around the room. Atlas was the most advanced computer ever built by humans. It had been thinking and learning for 25 years, getting smarter every day. Protocol confirmed, Admiral Chen, beginning system activation across all hidden facilities. The room filled with the sound of machines waking up. Lights came on everywhere. Computer screens showed maps of the entire solar system, with hundreds of red dots appearing. Each dot was a secret base that the aliens knew nothing about. Sarah walked to the biggest window in the control room. Outside, she could see the impossible thing that humans had built in secret. The TDF Leviathan stretched out in front of her, like a floating city. The ship was 12 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. It was so big that small ships could fly through tunnels inside it. The Leviathan had been built piece by piece over 30 years. Every part was made in a different, hidden factory. Some pieces came from bases on the moon. Others were made inside asteroids that looked empty from the outside. The final assembly happened here, in the deepest part of Earth's ocean. Admiral, we are receiving activation signals from all sister ships, Atlas reported. Kraken is rising from Jupiter's storm clouds. Behemoth is emerging from Saturn's rings. Titan is leaving the asteroid belt. Sarah nodded. The aliens thought they had been watching Earth carefully. They had seen the small fleet of destroyers and cruisers that patrolled human space. They counted every ship and measured every weapon. What they did not know was that those ships were just for show. The real fleet had been hiding where no one would think to look. How long until we reach the surface? Sarah asked. Until the Leviathan clears the ocean's surface, ATLAs answered. All stealth systems will disengage at that time. The galaxy will see us for the first time. Sarah thought about the long road that had brought them to this moment. When humans first met aliens 50 years ago, they seemed friendly enough. But Earth's leaders quickly learned that the galaxy was not a safe place. Stronger species took what they wanted from weaker ones. The only way to survive was to be stronger than everyone else. So Earth had played a careful game. They showed the aliens exactly what they wanted to see. A small, weak fleet that could not threaten anyone. Meanwhile, the real work happened in secret. The best human scientists and engineers worked on projects that officially did not exist. They built weapons and ships that were years ahead of anything the aliens had. The hardest part was keeping it secret. 200,000 people worked on the Leviathan project. but none of them could tell their families what they really did. They lived in hidden cities and worked in factories that were not on any map. They gave up normal lives so that humanity could survive. "Show me the weapons systems," Sarah said. The main screen changed to show the inside of the Leviathan. Of fighter ships hung in massive bays, each one ready to launch in seconds. But these were not normal fighters. Each ship had its own computer brain that could think and learn. They could work together like a school of fish, moving as one giant creature. "We have 40,000 fighters ready for immediate launch," Atlas reported. Each fighter is equipped with quantum torpedoes and adaptive shielding. Enemy weapons that hit our fighters will become less effective as our shields learn how to stop them. Sarah smiled. The aliens used the same weapons and tactics they had used for thousands of years. They were strong, but they did not change or improve. Humans were different. Human technology got better every year. What worked against humans yesterday might not work tomorrow. "What about manufacturing?" she asked. "All production facilities are online," Atlas said. "We can build and launch new fighters faster than enemy forces can destroy them. The Leviathan can replace its entire fighter wing in 6 hours if needed." This was the real secret weapon. Other species built their fleets in shipyards that took years to make new ships. The Leviathan was a flying shipyard, could build new fighters while fighting a battle, could adapt and change its weapons based on what the enemy was using. "Admiral, incoming message from Earth Defense Command." An officer called out. Sarah walked to the communication station. The face of General Martinez appeared on the screen. He was the only person on Earth who knew about all the secret projects. "The aliens just sent their ultimatum to every human colony," he said. "They want us to surrender in 72 hours. How soon can you be ready?" "The Leviathan will reach the surface in 12 hours, Sarah replied. "All 4 supercarriers will be in position within 24 hours. The aliens are about to learn that they picked a fight with the wrong species." General Martinez smiled. "Good. It's time the galaxy learned what humans can really do when we put our minds to it." The screen went dark. Sarah looked around the control room at her crew. These people had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They had hidden in the depths of the ocean while the aliens made their threats. But now it was time to come out of hiding. "All hands prepare for surface," Sarah announced over the ship's communication system. "In 12 hours, the galaxy will see the Leviathan for the first time. Let's make sure they never forget what they see." Deep in the Pacific Ocean, the largest warship ever built by humans began to rise toward the surface. Above them, the aliens were making their final preparations to crush the weak human fleet. They had no idea that their worst nightmare was about to rise from the depths of Earth's ocean. Commander Vexkull was having a normal day monitoring deep space when his scanner exploded with warnings. The young hegemony officer stared at his screen in confusion. Massive energy signatures were appearing all across the Sol system. Ships were showing up where empty space had been just moments before. "This cannot be right," he said to himself, hitting the scanner reset button. The contacts remained. In fact, more were appearing every minute. Vexkull called his supervisor immediately. "Captain, we have a problem. I am detecting dozens of large ships in human space. They just appeared out of nowhere." Captain Tornin rushed to the monitoring station. He was an experienced officer who had been watching human space for 10 years. He knew every human ship by name. There were only 27 of them, all small and weak. But his scanner was showing over 50 contacts, some of them enormous. "Run a full diagnostic on all equipment," Captain Tornin ordered. "These readings must be wrong." While the technicians ran their tests, more reports came in from other monitoring stations. Gemini observers throughout the galaxy were seeing the same impossible thing. The human fleet was growing before their eyes. At the Galactic Council, headquarters alarms began ringing in the Intelligence Center. Director Malquette, a thin insect-like Corvin, watched in horror as his wall of monitors lit up with new contacts. Each screen showed a different part of human space, and all of them showed ships that should not exist. "Get me Admiral Krickstall immediately," Director Malquette ordered his staff. This was too big for his department to handle alone. Admiral Crickstall was in his private quarters on the dreadnought Worldbreaker when the call came. He had been enjoying a meal while reading reports about the pathetic human navy. The call from Director Melkett ruined his good mood instantly. "Admiral, you need to see this," the intelligence director said. "The humans are deploying ships I've never seen before. Big ships. Really big ships." Admiral Crickstall laughed. "Impossible. We've watched human space for decades. We know every ship they have. They cannot hide anything from us. Sir, please look at the data we are sending you." The Admiral's personal screen filled with scanner readings from across the galaxy. What he saw made his blood run cold. For massive contacts were moving through the Sol system. Each one was bigger than his own dreadnought, much bigger. "Where did these ships come from?" Admiral Crickstall demanded. "We do not know, sir. They just appeared. Our best guess is that they were hidden using some kind of stealth technology we have never seen before." The Admiral stared at the data. The largest contact was 12 kilometers long. His own ship, the pride of the hegemony fleet, was only 15 kilometers long. But these human ships were not alone. Each of the 4 massive vessels was surrounded by clouds of smaller contacts. Thousands of them. On Earth, Director Vasquez sat in the emergency meeting room with the planet's top leaders. President Chen watched the main screen as reports came in from around the galaxy. Every alien monitoring station was going crazy, trying to figure out what was happening. "The Zephyrians just sent us a message," Communications Officer Torres reported. "They are demanding to know where these ships came from." President Chen smiled. "Tell them we are just as surprised as they are. Maybe they missed something in their intelligence gathering." The sarcasm was not lost on anyone in the room. For 50 years, the aliens had treated humans like children who could not be trusted with real technology. They had watched Earth's every move, counting ships and weapons like a parent watching a small child play with toys far from Earth. The TDF Leviathan finally reached the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Water poured off its massive hull as it rose into the sunlight for the first time. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge watching her crew work with perfect efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "All fighter wings report ready for launch," her tactical officer announced. 40,000 fighters armed and prepared. "Manufacturing bays are online," another officer reported. "Can begin production of additional fighters on your command."
"Admiral?"
Chen nodded. The aliens thought they understood human technology. They had seen the small destroyers and cruisers that patrolled human space. Those ships used simple weapons and basic shields. The aliens assumed all human technology was at the same level. They were wrong. The fighters launching from the Leviathan used quantum torpedoes that could pass through most alien shields. Their armor was made from materials that did not exist in alien databases. Most importantly, each fighter had an artificial brain that could learn and adapt during battle. "Atlas, begin deployment of reconnaissance drones," Admiral Chen ordered. "I want eyes on every alien fleet in the galaxy," acknowledged Admiral. "Launching stealth drones now." Thousands of tiny ships shot out from the Leviathan, each one invisible. 2 alien sensors. Within hours, they would be watching every major alien base and fleet. The humans would know where their enemies were before those enemies knew a war had started in the asteroid belt. The Supercarrier Titan finished its emergence from what had looked like a normal asteroid. The entire asteroid had been hollow, serving as a construction facility for 30 years. Now it split open like an egg, revealing the massive warship inside, near Jupiter. The Kraken rose from the planet's storm clouds, where it had been hidden in a floating facility. The gas giant's violent weather had masked the ship's construction from alien sensors. At Saturn, the behemoth emerged from a secret base built inside the planet's rings. Alien surveys of the rings had never detected the hidden shipyard. Each super was unique, designed for different types of combat. The Leviathan specialized in fighter operations. The Kraken carried the heaviest weapons for ship-to-ship combat. The behemoth was a mobile fortress designed to defend human colonies. The Titan was an assault carrier meant to attack enemy bases. Together, they represented 30 years of human innovation and determination. While the aliens had grown comfortable with their superior technology, Humans had been working in secret to surpass them. Admiral Krickstall called an emergency meeting of all hegemony fleet commanders. The holographic conference room filled with worried alien faces as reports came in from across the galaxy. "How many ships are we looking at?" asked Admiral Setkin from the border fleet. "Current count is over 50,000 contacts, Admiral," Krickstall replied grimly. "Most are small fighters, but there are at least 4 massive carriers. Each carrier appears to be larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." The room fell silent. The hegemony had assumed they could crush human resistance with a few dozen ships. Now they were facing a fleet that outnumbered their entire military. "Sir," a young officer spoke up nervously, "if the humans had this many ships, why did they wait until now to reveal them?" Admiral Krickstall did not have an answer. But deep down he was beginning to understand that the humans had been playing a completely different game all along. Admiral Krickstall stood on the bridge of the Worldbreaker as his massive fleet jumped into the Proxima Centauri system. 200 hegemony warships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for battle. The Admiral felt confident. Again, no matter how many ships the humans had built, the hegemony had more experience in war. "Target the human colony ships first," he ordered his weapons officer. "Once we destroy their ability to evacuate, they will surrender to save civilian lives." The Proxima colony was humanity's farthest outpost from Earth. 50,000 humans lived on the planet's surface and in the orbital stations above it. Admiral Krickstall planned to use them as hostages to force Earth's surrender. But as the hegemony fleet moved into attack position, space around them began to shimmer. The TDF Leviathan materialized just 50 kilometers away, appearing as if it had been invisible until that moment. The massive human carrier dwarfed every ship in the hegemony fleet. "Impossible," Admiral Krickstall whispered. "How did they get so close without being detected?" His tactical officer was frantically checking the sensors. "Sir, I am detecting massive energy buildup from the human ship. They're launching fighters." The launch bays of the Leviathan opened like the mouth of some giant beast. Thousands of small ships poured out in perfect coordination. But these were not normal fighters. Each one moved with precision that seemed impossible for a living pilot to achieve. "Begin attack on the human carrier," Admiral Krickstall ordered. "All ships focus fire on that target." Energy beams from 50 hegemony ships struck the Leviathan. At the same time, the Admiral expected to see the human ship break apart under such massive firepower. Instead, he watched in horror as the beams seemed to slide around the ship's hull without causing any damage. "Report," he demanded. "Sir, their shields are adapting to our weapons. Shot we fire becomes less effective than the last one." It was impossible. Hegemony weapons had destroyed thousands of enemy ships over the centuries. No shield technology could simply adapt to stop them. But the evidence was right in front of Admiral Krickstall's eyes. The human fighters reached the hegemony fleet faster than any fighter should be able to move. They swarmed around the alien ships like angry insects, too small and fast for the big guns to target effectively. Worse yet, they seemed to know exactly where each ship's weak points were. Captain Vortes commanded one of the heavy cruisers in Admiral Krickstall's fleet. He watched his gunners try desperately to hit the human fighters buzzing around his ship. Every time they got a lock on one fighter, 10 more appeared from different directions. "Sir, the fighters are using some kind of quantum torpedoes," his weapons officer reported. "They're passing right through our shields." Captain Vortes felt his ship shake as explosions rocked the hull. The human weapons were small, but they were hitting critical systems with impossible accuracy. His shield generators failed, then his main engines, then his weapon control systems. "How are they targeting our weak spots so precisely?" he demanded. The answer came from his sensor operator. "Sir, I think their fighters are sharing information with each other. When one fighter learns something about our defenses, they all learn it instantly." All across the hegemony fleet, the same thing was happening. The human fighters moved like a single organism with thousands of parts. They learned from every attack. In every defense, ship after ship began losing power as the small human weapons found critical systems. Admiral Krickstall realized he was losing the battle. But he still had one advantage: numbers. The humans might have better technology, but The hegemony had more ships. All vessels target the human fighters. Ignore the carrier for now. The fleet turned its guns on the swarm of human fighters. Massive energy beams swept through space, destroying hundreds of the small ships. For a moment, Admiral Krickstall thought he had found the answer. Then he noticed something that made his blood freeze. The Leviathan was launching new fighters even faster than his fleet could destroy the old ones. The human carrier was building replacement ships during the battle. "Sir, enemy fighter count is increasing," his tactical officer reported with fear. In his voice, "They're launching new ships faster than we can shoot them down." This was beyond anything Admiral Krickstall had ever seen in war. Ships were built in shipyards over months or years. They were not supposed to appear in the middle of a battle like magic. But the humans seemed to have factories inside their warship that could build fighters in minutes. The swarm of human fighters grew larger instead of smaller. Each new fighter immediately joined the coordinated attack, sharing knowledge with all the others. The hegemony fleet found itself fighting an enemy that got stronger and smarter with every passing minute.
Yes.
"Sir, we have lost 40 ships," the tactical officer announced. 60 more have suffered major damage." Admiral Krickstall looked at his display showing the battle. Red icons marked his damaged and destroyed vessels, while the cloud of green human fighters continued to grow. This was not going as planned. "Focus all fire on the enemy carrier," he ordered. "If we can destroy their factory, they cannot build." "More fighters?" Every working gun in the hegemony fleet turned toward the Leviathan. Thousands of energy beams struck the massive ship at once. Surely nothing could survive such firepower, but the Leviathan simply absorbed the attack. It's adaptive. Shields had learned to stop hegemony weapons completely. The massive human warship continued building, launching fighters as if nothing was happening. Captain Vortes watched his own ship die around him. Human fighters had destroyed his engines, his weapons, and his life support systems. Emergency. Power was all that kept his bridge lights working.
Yes, sir.
"We need to abandon ship," his first officer said. Before Captain Vortes could answer, something incredible happened. The human fighters stopped attacking his crippled vessel, moved on to other targets, leaving his crew alive but helpless. Across the battlefield, the same thing was happening. When hegemony ships lost the ability to fight, the human fighters left them alone. They were not trying to kill every alien in the fleet. They were simply removing threats to the human colony. Admiral Krickstall finally understood that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not use overwhelming force to destroy their enemies completely. They used exactly enough force to win, and no more. "Sir, we have lost over 100 ships," his tactical officer reported. "The remainder of the fleet cannot continue fighting." Admiral Krickstall stared at the tactical display. His great fleet, the pride of the hegemony military, had been defeated by a single human carrier and its fighters. Worse yet, the humans had done it without destroying a single ship completely. They had simply disabled everything that opposed them. "Send a message to all ships," he said quietly. "We are withdrawing from this system. It's the surviving hegemony." Ships limped away from Proxima Centauri. Admiral Krickstall realized that everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about humans was wrong. Earth was not a weak species that could be bullied into submission. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that could win wars without becoming monsters. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. 12 alien leaders sat in their tall chairs, staring at the empty space where human representatives usually stood. News of the hegemony fleet's defeat at Proxima had reached every corner of the galaxy. 200 warships reduced to scrap metal by a single human carrier. Elder Sylvana of the Zephyrions spoke first, her voice shaking with fear. "How did we miss this? How did they hide such powerful technology for so long?" Director Melket clicked his mandibles nervously. "Our intelligence networks have been watching human space for 50 years. We cataloged every ship, every weapon, every base. Where did this fleet come from?" Admiral Krickstall stood before the council like a broken soldier. His uniform was torn and dirty from the emergency evacuation of his flagship. The mighty Worldbreaker was now a floating wreck in deep space, kept alive only by emergency power. They were invisible, he said quietly. The human ships appeared from nothing. Our sensors saw empty space until they chose to reveal themselves. They have stealth technology beyond anything we have ever encountered. The chamber erupted in frightened whispers. Stealth technology that could hide entire fleets was the stuff of nightmares. If humans could make their ships invisible, nowhere in the galaxy was safe from attack. Order an immediate withdrawal of all fleets from human space, Elder Sylvana commanded. We need time to understand what we are dealing with. But before anyone could respond, the massive doors of the chamber opened. Director Elena Vasquez walked in, but she was not alone. Behind her came Admiral Sarah Chen in her crisp blue uniform, and behind her marched 50 human soldiers in armor that gleamed like liquid metal. The aliens in the chamber shrank back in their chairs. They had never seen human military personnel in the council chamber before. The humans were supposed to be weak and peaceful. These soldiers looked like anything but weak. Distinguished council members, Alina said with a smile that was not friendly. We received your withdrawal order. How thoughtful of you to change your minds about attacking our colonies. Elder Sylvana tried to regain control of the situation. Representative Vasquez. We need to discuss these new developments. Your species has clearly been hiding significant military capabilities. Alina looked around the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of each alien leader. Hiding. We prefer the term strategic patience. You see, humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. You have been listening to our soft words for 50 years. Now you have seen our stick. Admiral Chen stepped forward. In her hand was a small device that projected a holographic display. The image showed star maps of the entire galaxy, with hundreds of red dots scattered across them. These are our current fleet positions, Admiral Chen announced calmly. As you can see, we have ships stationed near every major alien world. They have been there for years, watching and waiting. The aliens stared at the display in horror. The red dots were everywhere. Near their home worlds, their military bases, their most important colonies, the humans had surrounded them without anyone knowing. Director Melket's voice cracked when he spoke. This is impossible. We would have detected such a massive fleet. You? Alina asked. Your people have been so confident in your superior technology, you never thought to look for ships that could hide from your sensors. You counted our visible fleet and assumed that was everything we had. Admiral Crickstall slumped in his chair. How many ships do you really have? Admiral Chen smiled. Not enough. The 4 supercarriers you have seen are just the beginning. We have been building ships and hidden facilities throughout the galaxy for 3 decades. Asteroid bases, deep space platforms, mobile shipyards that move from system to system. Touched her device, and the display changed. Now it showed massive shipyards hidden inside asteroid belts and gas giant atmospheres. Each one was building more ships, more weapons, more technology that the aliens had never seen. The real question, Alina said, is what happens next. You threatened to destroy our colonies and enslave our people. That was a mistake. Elder Sylvana leaned forward desperately. Representative Vasquez, surely we can reach some agreement. The Galactic Council has maintained peace for thousands of years. Peace, Elena laughed, but it was not a happy sound. You call it peace when stronger species take what they want from weaker ones? You call it peace when the Council decides who gets to expand and who must stay confined to their home systems? She gestured to Admiral Chen, who activated another display. This one showed the true scope of human space exploration. Ships were already surveying systems hundreds of light years beyond anything the Council knew about. Humans will expand wherever we choose to go, Alina announced. We will build colonies on any worlds we find suitable. We will trade with any species that treats us fairly, and we will defend ourselves against any threat. The chamber fell silent. The aliens were beginning to understand that everything had changed. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely. What are your terms? Elder Sylvana asked. Quietly, Alina walked to the center of the chamber. The same spot where she had stood 3 days ago, listening to threats and ultimatums. Now she was the one setting conditions. First, all Council species will recognize humanity's right to expand freely. No more permits, no more restrictions, no more oversight of human activities. The aliens nodded reluctantly.
Any species
that attacks human civilians or colonies will face immediate retaliation. Our response will be swift and overwhelming. More nods, though these were even more reluctant. Third, the Council will establish fair trade agreements with Earth. No more treating humans like children who cannot be trusted with real technology. Admiral Chen added her own condition. And fourth, Council species will share their scientific knowledge freely. Humans are willing to do the same. It is time for the galaxy to grow stronger together instead of fighting over scraps. Elder Sylvana looked around at her fellow council members. She saw fear, confusion, and resignation in their faces. These terms are acceptable, she said finally. Elena nodded. Excellent. Oh, and one more thing. She paused, letting the tension build in the chamber. The 4 supercarriers you have seen are not our entire fleet. They are simply the ships we are willing to show you. The rest will remain hidden, watching and protecting human interests throughout the galaxy. As Alina and Admiral Chen left the chamber, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. They had learned a hard lesson about underestimating other species. Humans had spent 50 years being patient, being careful, and being vastly underestimated. Now, the galaxy would have to adjust to a new reality. Earth was no longer the weak newcomer that could be pushed around. Humanity had revealed itself to be the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen, and somewhere in the depths of space, hidden shipyards continued building new ships. For a species that had learned the most important lesson of all, the best defense was a good offense, and the best offense was one that nobody saw coming.